Hello friends, and welcome to our little mini backyard homestead. Today we're going to be planting some potatoes. It is mid-April and I want to get these in the ground. I'm just going to take this little narrow shovel and I'm going to dig a trench in each of my rows about 4 to 6 inches deep that I'm going to be planting my potatoes in. If you missed my last video of how we prepare the garden for the spring, then go ahead and check that video out. I share how I make all of my rows, and that's what you see the string here for, and it just helps me get my rows nice and straight. Now my rows are about 2 feet apart, and this section here, they're 20 feet long. Potatoes like a lot of phosphorus, so I like to use this bone meal. It's a slow release, and so I just do this right when I prepare for planting, and then it slowly feeds them this phosphorus all throughout the growing season. Now we have really good compost in here that's already rich in nitrogen, so you don't need to add any of that. Nitrogen is going to give you a lot of really green leafy growth, whereas this phosphorus is actually going to help the potatoes to grow. So I'm just going to sprinkle that in and just kind of lightly mix that in.
Of course, I had to grab the one that's too small.
Before I put my potatoes in the ground, I need to get my irrigation lines set up for my rows. I like to use this tubing here. There is a hole every 12 inches along this line, and that works out perfect for my potato spacing. So this irrigation system that we have set up that we did a couple years ago, I'm going to do a video kind of going over more of the details, but I can adjust the different lines and rows in different spots. So I'm just going to steal one from this section and put in a plug because I'm not sure what's going to go in this row. So we're just going to plug that off. That way I can run the irrigation and not have the lines all coming off. So this is where we had tomatoes last year. So we have a different kind of tubing coming off of this one. So I'm just going to remove these and then put in my drip irrigation here on these 4 rows for the potatoes. Like I said, these tubings have holes every 12 inches, which is perfect spacing for my potatoes. That's why I wanted to get my line in so I know exactly where to plant each potato. So I'm planting 4 different varieties. I've got Yukon Gold, which is my favorite, red Pontiac, and then a russet. I can't remember the variety of russet, but they have these little eyes on them and you want to plant them so that's facing up. Now I do not cut my potatoes into sections to each have an eye. I usually try to get the smaller potatoes because these seed potatoes that I got at our local feed store are 99 cents a pound. So I try to pick the smallest potatoes that I can, and they usually have 1 or 2 eyes on them. So don't worry about cutting them up. You want to plant them, I believe, about 6 inches deep. So I'm just going to line them all up under the holes here on this irrigation line, and then I'll go through and cover them up. Then I always make sure that I write down what I planted where as well as the date. That way I know about when the time it'll be ready to be harvested and what I have planted where. So I had all my 4 rows of potatoes planted, and just a few weeks later when they started popping up, we got dumped with several inches of snow in the beginning of May. It was quite shocking. I didn't know if they were going to survive, but this is them just a few weeks later after that snow. They are growing beautifully and they survived that snowstorm, which is really great. So now it's time to hill them up. Once they get about this tall, we're going to go ahead and start hilling them up. Hilling your potatoes is basically where you just rake the dirt in between the rows, just up onto the leaves, quite a ways up the stem, and to just cover it. Some people say that it helps create more potatoes. I'm not really sure. I did it last year, but I think it just helps to make sure that the potatoes are covered, because if they get exposed to the sun, then they'll turn green and you can't really eat them unless you cut that part out, I believe. But I'm just going to use my weeder, my triangular weeder. I don't know what this thing is called, but I'm going to loosen up the dirt between the rows, and my rows are actually kind of spaced close together. Really, they should be a little bit wider. So I'm going to loosen this dirt. That way I can go ahead and rake it up onto the potatoes here. A lot of people hill up their potatoes multiple times through the growing season. I don't have enough extra dirt to do that, so I just usually do it once towards the beginning. I guess I could bring in a little bit more dirt, but I just do it once and that seems to be good enough. So I'm not really sure the reasoning behind this. Maybe it creates more potatoes, maybe it just protects them from, being exposed to the sun. I don't know. I did it last year and it worked. I had great potatoes, so this year that's what I'm doing. And then I'm just going to make sure that irrigation line is not buried underneath the dirt because I don't want the little holes to get plugged. And that's how I plant my potatoes and hill them up. And last year, from about 10 pounds of seed potatoes, we got about 100 pounds of potatoes. So this year I'm pretty excited to see how much potatoes we get. I think I got a little over maybe 12 to 15 pounds of seed potatoes. So we'll see how many potatoes we get this year. I love the vibrant green of the leaves against this really dark, rich compost dirt. It just looks so beautiful, the contrast, and I love growing potatoes. Now, last year we had our potatoes in a different section, and we have some volunteer potatoes popping up. There were just potatoes left in the ground that we missed, so we have a few just popping up over in our corn area, and we're gonna let them be and just dig them up when they're ready. We also have a second beehive going. I am super excited about. They're making a new queen. That was a split from our original hive that is still going really strong. Super excited about that this year. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this potato tutorial, I guess. I want to do a garden tour video, so stay tuned for that because everything is all planted out. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.